Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the hidden, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful, but his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in this law I say, I did it sunrise and sundown. Him appear like a tree planted by the rivers of water that bringeth forth fruit in his season. Him never have a wither, and whatsoever him jewel shall prosper. Yea! The heathen them now, they saw them there like a chaff, which the wind driveth away. Therefore the heathen them never go stand upon judgment of the sin among them in the congregation of the righteous. For the Lord God Jah, whether the way of the righteous and the way of the sin among them always and always, I will perish. Let the people of the Most High God say, Jah! Kadama we groma bea tela higzag beer tanayistalina bashante shante. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Jah shall therein abide under the shadow of the Almighty. And I give thanks and I says unto your name, King of Kings and Lord of Lords, the conquering Lion of the tribe of Judah, Amasa Yahuda, Amasa Negusto the Gusto Danielam. Koma ya sataya. Yaso pio aya. Krama we groma bea tela This is the Black Pot, aka Kukushonomo, where we speak truth to power. And my name, Black Rasta. In every traditional African home, there is a black pot. And each time this black pot sits on the fire, there is something sumptuous cooking. Oh yes, very sumptuous cooking. Ingredients of so many different colors, shapes, sizes, aromas, and even flavors find their way into the black pot, putting aside all their differences of color, differences of shapes, sizes, and even aromas and flavors. After some time, they are subjected to some amount of heating. They produce one homogeneous product known as food. And the food does not even benefit the black pot. Neither does it benefit the ingredients. It benefits us. Yet every time they selflessly produce this food. Same way. The black pot is so symbolical of the African continent. And the ingredients in the black pot represent us. We must also be selfless. Put aside all our differences of color, shades, differences of sizes and shapes, and even creed and religion, and even faith. So we can be subjected to some sacrifice to produce what is known as development for our people, our continent, our land, and the next generation. We must be that Joshua generation, the generation of tree planters. We plant trees even though we know we will not live long enough to sit under the shade of these trees. Remember, each time you sit under any tree shade, remember that some people planted these trees knowing very well that they will not live long enough to benefit from the shades and even the fruits of the trees, but they still went ahead to plant them for us. This is what we must be doing. Now, the problem of Africa is not only the problem of roads, hospitals, and even schools. It's the problem of the mindset. This program seeks to rewire the minds of our people. If the mindset is right, every single thing will be righted. Individuals will build schools, roads, and even hospitals to the benefit of the generations yet to come. This is the black pot, and here we don't criticize. If we must criticize, we would only criticize to build and not to destroy. That is why we say this is the voice of the people. And my name, Black Rasta. We are live on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. It is called the Black Empire Media. We're going to be 1 year old on the 1st of March. Oh my God. It's going to be surprising. And on that day, we would establish another channel. And it is known as the African History Class, where we tell our history to the world. Oh my God, what a day. So look out for that channel. It's known as the African History Class. And of course, subscribe even whilst we are waiting, because on that day we're going to be releasing very interesting documentaries for you. This is the Blakk Pot, and we are also on other social media platforms, including Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and we are live on Pan-African TV, live on Loud Silence TV, live on Black Empire TV. By the power of satellite, we are seen all over the world. Yes, we are number one when it comes to Pan-Africanism. This is the Blakk, aka Koko Shonemo, where we speak truth to power. And my name, Blakk Rasta. Now, the very first story we are looking at today is so dear to my heart. Vandalizing Kwame Nkrumah's thoughts. The greatest pride of Kwame Nkrumah. If you truly know this legendary African, the African of the millennium, his thoughts. Nkrumah loved to write. Even as president, he was never too busy to write. In fact, June Mill was somebody Nkrumah worked hand in hand with. And it was all about writing. Nkrumah wrote so many books. How many of them have you read? Powerful books. When Nkrumah was overthrown, the first thing they looked for, his books. And today we are getting to hear that even the CIA was interested in burning Nkrumah's books, destroying and vandalizing his thoughts. You see, as African people, we have been told time and again that if you want to hide anything from the African, put it in a book. But modern day Africans have started reading. They knew that this day would come. So they set his books on fire. In fact, it took June Mill and a couple of other people to save some of these books. All the way from when he was in exile in Guinea. The books he wrote, those he wrote here. Now, did you know that at the time that Nkrumah was overthrown, he was in the middle of completing a book about the Congo Valley? Nkrumah was always writing about Africa. They say the greatest asset of a man is what he has upstairs. Every other thing shall fade away, but what you have here will stay with you till the end of time. Do you agree? Today there is something interesting I want to show you. And remember, we're talking about vandalizing Kwame Nkrumah's thoughts. What do we mean when we say vandalize? To destroy. Come here, let's look at this. And I'm very, very emotional about this. Watch this. How U.S. ambassador to Ghana supervised burning of books at Achimota after Nkrumah's overthrow. Now, who was this U.S. ambassador to Ghana in 1966 when Kwame Nkrumah was overthrown? This guy. This guy. I will tell you more about this guy. Roll the story. How U.S. ambassador to Ghana supervised burning of books at Achimota after Nkrumah overthrew. Ghana's former First Lady Nana Konadu Agyeman-Rawlings has recalled the initial moments of the overthrow of the country's first president, Kwame Nkrumah. Having been a student of Achimota School at the time, Nana Konadu wrote in her book, It Takes a One, that amongst the things that shocked her was the burning of books and literature. She explained how even more puzzling was the fact that the highest ranking diplomat from the United States Embassy was also present at their school to ensure that the exercise of erasing all traces of Kwame Nkrumah were done. She also recalled how her Russian teachers were initially whisked away from the school, during which time the National Liberation Council NLC team combed the school to pull down all photos of Nkrumah in the school. At the beginning of the coup, the NLC spoke of democracy, yet the wave of books burning became symptomatic of just the opposite. a harsh and repressive regime seeking to censor or silence a critical part of our nation's history. This was perhaps an inherent flaw in the NLC agenda, their direct attempt to erase Nkrumah's legacy from Ghana's history. Adding to our anxieties at Achimota, a number of Russian teachers were rounded up and presumably shipped away to their home countries. I remember feeling frightened and uneasy at the time of such drastic change in our country. Suddenly, we were all following orders to burn any books, pictures, literature, or artifacts that bore Nkrumah's name, image, or ideology. From one dormitory to the next, we took down Nkrumah's pictures. If we wanted to keep any, we did so at our own risk. What I found most disturbing, however, was the sight of the newly appointed United States ambassador on Achimota school grounds to supervise our books burning exercise. Many of the students, even in our naivety about politics and political wrangling, could not fathom the sight of an ambassador from the United States, a country which boasted its love for freedom of speech and one that diligently preserved its own history, helped turn ours into ashes. The imagery was stunning, and we struggled to piece together why anyone from the United States would openly oversee the destruction of our written history, irrespective of the current tide of government, she wrote. Nana Konadu Agyeman-Rawlings further described how she felt from the little she knew that the people who orchestrated the overthrow of Nkrumah's government were from within his direct circle. She, for instance, explained that the new American ambassador was a one-time classmate of Nkrumah, and to have seen him there overseeing the destruction of things built, only a testament that there had been some betrayal. From the little I know of the men around Nkrumah, I immediately felt a deep sense of betrayal for him and imagined he would too. The new ambassador was an African American who coincidentally had been a former classmate of Nkrumah at Lincoln University. His presence at Achimota felt like an unwelcome visitor sitting in on a family quarrel. It unnerved me to see him at our school at such an unstable moment in our country's history. He's supervising the burning of our own literary works and anything even remotely associated, but many of which have no relation to Nkrumah. Felt repulsive, she added. Ow, 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 ow. This is Nana Konadu Agyeman-Rawlings. She rose to become the First Lady of the Republic, the wife of J.J. Rawlings. This is what she's written. This woman was awed at what happened. Now, the ambassador of the United States to Ghana was a classmate of Kwame Nkrumah, Ambassador Franklin, right? Ambassador Franklin, African American. He claimed to love Nkrumah. At the end of the day, he supervised over the burning of Nkrumah's books. In fact, he liaised with the CIA to have Nkrumah removed. I do not want to bore you with the wranglings, the inner wranglings of how Nkrumah was overthrown. But at the time that he was overthrown, he was writing a book on how rich that valley was. It will be able to provide food for the whole Africa and even beyond. And Africa would be food independent. In fact, the book was being edited. He had to stay and finish writing the book. But the United States president at the time decided that he should come or Sajifo to make sure that the Vietnam War at least will be doused. The fire was too hot, and his presence there would mean a lot. It was a trap. Nkrumah asked his secretaries if this made sense. Phone call upon phone call. In fact, chasing Nkrumah left, right, and center. In fact, to come to Vietnam. On his way to Hanoi, bam, the coup makers had a field day once he was out of the country. And this same Ambassador Franklin, was part of the wranglings. He was part of the orchestrations. Nkrumah was finally released. In fact, betrayed. Today, Nana Konedu Agyeman is speaking, and it brings tears in my eyes. Come here. You see, Nkrumah can die, Nkrumah can go, but Nkrumah knew a time would come when people would like to eat into his brain. He was a man who was several years ahead of his age. So he knew he had to document his thoughts so that generations to come would feed into it. There's no African who is more relevant than Kwame Nkrumah today, several years after death. Can you mention? Mention one African who is more relevant than Kwame Nkrumah today. Kwame Nkrumah wrote, thankfully, his pen was the mightiest. He wrote his thoughts. The dark days in Ghana. Oh, he wrote a lot. Today, they burnt his books. In fact, when there was even a coup in Guinea, they went after Nkrumah's books. Even there. In fact, it took a very good friend of his, a secretary of his, a personal assistant. We're going to spare you all the details today, to safeguard a book of writings. In fact, a big bag of writings, which she brought, and some of them were published posthumously. Today, Nkrumah said something which I would like to share with you. Nkrumah said that the torch, the flame that he had lit in Africa, in Ghana, years and years after he was dead, buried and gone, that flame would continue to burn brighter and brighter. That is today. That is today, my brother. He wrote, we are still reading. Any country you go to around the world, and you mention that you are from Ghana, the first person they ask of is Nkrumah. Any country you go to around the world, and you mention that you are an African, Pan-African is first and foremost like a visa into your private life. Mention the word Nkrumahism. Nana Konedu has given us a chunk of history, and I'm so glad that she brought it out. The traitors who took out Nkrumah today are the same people in power. They are not only vandalizing his thoughts, they have vandalized his legacies, like the numerous factories that he built. As for his ideologies, those books are still here. They succeeded in destroying some of them that were never published. But a big chunk of them we still have. What a president. Which president on earth has written more books than Kwame Nkrumah? As busy as Kwame Nkrumah was, the president of Africa, he still made time to communicate his ideas by the streak of the pen. Hallelujah. Today, I doff my heart for you, the president of Africa. They vandalized his thoughts. But, like the Bible, they tried in the past to chastise and destroy it. at least we still have a copy that represents some amount of truth. Some amount of truth. And that amount of truth is powerful enough to make us authenticate a lot of our histories. This is the Black Pot, aka Kukushonamo.
Skipper George.
Black Pot, Kukusho.